In response to that, in fact, laying out the case of the anti-side, please welcome Jane Kennedy.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you to the Charities Parliament for arranging this event. It's a real privilege to come along and talk to you this evening, and particularly to listen to some of the questions that you may have for us shortly. Now, in May, as you've been hearing, you will be asked whether you want to keep the current voting system for the Westminster Parliament or switch to the alternative vote, as you've heard. I'm going to be voting against AV because it's expensive, it's complicated, and it's a politician's fix. And I say that having been a politician. I hold my hands up. I have been a seasoned politician. I'm not a politician now. But then, of course, don't forget, Jonathan was a member of John Major's staff. So let's get that. So we're all starting all square. Now, our country can't afford to bring in a voting system that would make elections unfair. Those asking you to vote yes claim that it will mean politicians have to work harder because they will have to gain the votes of over half their electorate to win. They won't. If you don't accept what I say, have a look at what the Ipsos Mori Social Research Institute have said when they said the most frequent simple argument put forward for AV is that it ensures that every MP has the support of 50% of their constituents or voters. The first is, of course, not true, that is, their constituents. The second is not true because it takes no account of those who don't vote at all, or for that matter, those whose votes are invalid for any reason. And therefore, the claim that will have to gain the support of 50% of their constituents isn't true. Now, let me just explain. Because this obscure system, used by only 3 countries in the world to elect their governments, that's Fiji, Papua New Guinea and Australia, is an optional system. So voters will get the choice of voting for all or only some of the candidates on the ballot paper, exactly as at least one of you did in choosing which bar of chocolate was your favourite. Many will only vote once, as we know from Australia, for their first choice candidate. And consequently, MPs will still be elected, as I've said, on less than 50% of voters. And I believe it's disingenuous to continue to claim otherwise. Surely, what people really want from their politicians is honesty. Politicians should say what they mean and not attempt to mislead the public for short-term electoral gain, as we know some did before the election. We are told it will take away tactical voting. We can learn a lot from Australia, where they have operated this system since 1918. It was a politician's fix introduced by 2 centre-right parties, desperate to stop Labour squeezing between them to win under first past the post. Again, not me, the words of Julian Glover in last week's Guardian, in which he said the country has used the system since 1918, and as a result, election day in Australia is all about colourful pieces of card. If you are a Labour supporter, you take the Labour card and use it to rank candidates from all parties in the order the local Labour Party thinks best. It takes power away from people. Now, we're told it will take away tactical voting. I've just said that. AV isn't popular even in these countries. Fiji have promised to get rid of it, to bring in first past the post. And in Australia, 6 out of every 10 voters want to return to a British-style system. That's hardly a resounding vote of confidence from those who use it now. Here in the UK, most of the Yes campaigners don't actually want AV. Nick Clegg dropped his promise to vote against a rise in student tuition fees in return for a referendum on AV, but he called it a miserable little compromise just before he did the deal. The Electoral Reform Society have previously stated that they, and I quote, do not regard it as suitable for the election of a representative body, for example, a parliament. Now they are bankrolling the Yes campaign, not because they now like AV, but because they think that once Britain has moved to AV, it would be easy to get proportional representation. And that's the debate we should be having in Britain. This system isn't fair. It treats a voter's 5th or 6th choice as having the same importance as another voter's first choice. There's a very big difference between positively wanting one candidate to win and being saddled with second best. There's an enormous difference between choosing which bar of chocolate or even which candidate for the Labour leadership you want to win and choosing your government. This complicated system isn't fair or proportional, but the Liberal Democrats have pushed for it because it will get their party more seats. At no time, never mind at a time of cuts, With rising unemployment and people's wages being frozen, should we switch to a system that makes the counting process more expensive and time-consuming just because it benefits the Lib Dems? AV is complex to count, so councils will have to purchase expensive vote counting machines, and we estimate that these will cost over £130 million. £26 million more will be spent on voter education, additionally polling stations and other associated costs. My time is up. I believe the winner of an election should be the candidate who comes first. Thank you.